Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Jack Ulrich, Tritium's Global Head of Marketing. I'm honored to be your moderator as we celebrate the first NEVI Program Award. Today, we'll hear speeches from several industry leaders, followed by time for Q&A. You can ask a question at any time. Please simply type your question into Zoom's dedicated Q&A feature, and we'll address it in the Q&A section. Joining us today are key figures across the forefront of e-mobility and sustainability infrastructure. First, we have White House Senior Advisor and Infrastructure Coordinator, Mitch Landrieu. Mr. Landrieu is responsible for coordinating the implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which of course includes the NEVI program, as well as the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Discretionary Grant Program. From the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation, we're pleased to welcome Executive Director Gabe Klein. Mr. Klein oversees efforts to support the deployment of the $7.5 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure law to build the national EV charging network. Representing the Hawai'i Department of Transportation, we have Director Ed Sniffen. Mr. Sniffen oversees Hawaii's NEVI implementation plan and is responsible for the planning, designing, constructing, operating, maintaining, and several other things for the state's facilities and infrastructures across all modes of transportation. Warren Carsey has joined us from Sustainability Partners, a contractor working on behalf of the Hawai'i Department of Transportation to purchase, operate, and maintain the state's NEVI fast chargers. Mr. Carsey leads Sustainability Partners' electrification infrastructure business in the United States. We also have Mr. Jim Burness, CEO of Aloha Charge, a national car charging company. Jim founded national car charging in 2011 with the belief that business can thrive while doing good for the planet. 12 years later, here we are in national car charging, and Hawaii-based Aloha Charge, our leading reseller and installer of EV infrastructure in the country. And last, but certainly not least, we have Jane Hunter, Tritium CEO and Executive Director. Under Jane's leadership, Tritium has grown to become one of the most prominent fast charger manufacturers globally, with chargers in over 42 countries, providing more than 20,000 high-powered charging sessions each and every day. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Mitch Landrieu for his opening remarks.
Jack, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for being on the call with us, and thanks for the press folks that have joined us today for this really exciting announcement. You know, the president said that when he assumed the presidency, he was going to do three things. He was going to restore the soul of the country, he was going to unite America, and he was going to rebuild the backbone of the country, because you have to do that in order to build a strong economy, and you can't build a strong economy if you don't build strong infrastructure. And so the president, as you know, in a bipartisan way, passed a once-in-a-generation Invest in America agenda, whether it's the bipartisan infrastructure law, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, essentially to rebuild all the roads, the bridges, the airports, the ports, clean air, safe water, high-speed internet for every kid in America and every family and folks that live in rural and urban areas, and also to produce a clean energy economy. And part of that is electrifying our economy. To date, we have pushed over $260 billion out of the door. We have 35,000 projects in some level of formation in this country, in every state, all the territories, and in Washington, D.C. This has produced a really strong economic run, creating 13.1 million jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, one of the lowest unemployment rates that we've seen in the last 50 years. And this once-in-a-generation investment is beginning to yield, incredible results. In the space of building an electrified economy, one of the things we're moving very aggressively towards, clearly, because of climate, is electrical vehicles. And as a consequence, the need for extracting critical minerals, and then finally, building electrical vehicle charging stations. As you know, the president made a commitment in partnership with the private sector to deliver 500,000 electrical vehicle charging stations across the country. We now think that we can hit the $1.2 million mark. There's $7.5 billion in this bill to do that. And of course, that is driving massive private sector investment. Across the entire Invest in America portfolio, we have over $500 billion of private sector investment moving into all of those different platforms I've talked about. But just in the investments in the EVs and batteries, we've had $130 billion of investment. And Tritium, of course, is one of those companies. The first set of EV chargers that are funding by this work is basically going to hit the ground in Hawaii. So Hawaii, congratulations for doing that. You're doing it with one of our great partners, Tritium, a great partner. I was in Lebanon, Tennessee, just about a month ago or so, to see the chargers they're building firsthand. And remember meeting one of the folks that are working on it, a woman who had just 6 months before that been working in the cosmetic aisle at JCPenney, who transitioned over to Tritium, is making twice as much money, has great benefits, and is thrilled to death with the transition that she's had in her life. So that's what the president is talking about by not only electrifying the economy, but creating really high-paying jobs to do the same thing. And of course, we could not do that without what I call horizontal and vertical integration. I'm working on the federal, state, and local level, working with the private sector, the not-for-profit, the faith-based communities, one team, one fight mission to get us where we need to go in time to make sure that we put America in a place where we never have to look over our shoulder again at any other country, any other economy in the world. And of course, you can't do that without private sector partners. And so Tritium, I want to thank you for your investment. Also want to thank Gabe Klein and his team over at the joint office through the Department of Energy and the Department of Transportation. And of course, to our other partners that are on the call for your work and this incredible announcement today. So thank you all. We look forward to continuing to work with you and hit the goals that are necessary so America can get done the job that the president set for us. And as the president likes to say, now it's time to finish the job. So I turn it over to you, Gabe. Good luck to you guys, and thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Mitch. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gabe Klein, Executive Director of the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation. It's great to be here with Mitch as well as the team at HDOT, Tritium, Aloha Charge, Sustainability Partners as well. The Joint Office of Energy and Transportation is new, relatively new, a little over a year old, and it was established under the bipartisan infrastructure law to align world-class resources and expertise of the U.S. Department of Energy and the U.S. DOT. So we work to accelerate an electrified transportation system that's convenient, reliable, affordable, accessible, and equitable, and results in a future where everyone can drive or ride electric. For the last year and a half, we've worked closely with Hawaii DOT and really every state to create and execute state plans under the NEVI formula program. Today's announcement is really the culmination of a lot of work by the Hawaii DOT, in particular, the Joint Office, and our partners at the U.S. DOT's Federal Highway Administration. Hawaii is engaged with communities across the state, collaborated with its utility partners, and coordinated, obviously, as seen today, with industry to get us to this point. And we, at the federal level, are very excited about the progress that Hawaii has made in implementing NEVI, and really getting us one step closer to modernizing the nation's transportation system. So while today's announcement is a significant milestone toward electrifying Hawaii's, I believe, 788 miles of designated EV charging corridors, we want to also recognize that it comes on the heels of a lot of often unglamorous, but critically important, I would term it pre-development work that all states, by the way, are in the process of undertaking. And the transition that we're going through, as Mitch said, it's a team effort, requires close collaboration across public and private. And this administration, the Biden administration, has established a foundation for our national charging network for the first time in history by providing ongoing technical assistance, minimum standards, releasing program guidance, and approving all these state plans. And Hawaii is leading the way as states and the private sector get chargers in the ground. So now it's all coming together as the investment in Hawaii will meet those requirements that we've set out so that drivers of EVs have a seamless experience. We're also excited that states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Alaska, Colorado, District of Columbia will soon be following Hawaii's lead, finalizing contracts and then beginning construction for their first NEVI-funded chargers. I do want to mention that earlier today, the Joint Office released the NEVI Formula Program Annual Report. You can go to driveelectric.gov and get that report. It's live now, and it highlights the elements of the NEVI state plans. It puts into these, the works that states put into these plans to get this investment right was significant. We'll utilize this summary of these plans to inform program improvement and future TA activities. And Thanks to the efforts of the Biden administration, we're off to a good start. And we also want to point people to the newly released 2030 National Charging Network Report published by NREL that shows the scale and makeup of the network that we need to build. These 32 Tritium 150 kilowatt ports are a critically important step in achieving this goal. But total, we're going to need 1.2 million charging ports, public charging ports to meet this demand of what we're forecasting about 33 million vehicles by 2030. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it over to Ed Sniffen at HDOT.
Thanks so much, Gabe. Thanks very much for all the partnership that you and your agency have helped us out with. I mean, the guidance has been tremendous, so really appreciate you. And to Mayor Mitch, same as well to Mayor Mitch and the group. He's helping us ensure that we deliver on the promise of this once-in-a-generation funding that the Biden administration had pushed out. So hopefully do such a good job that we get a second-in-a-lifetime second-in-a-generation funding opportunity as we go forward to rebuild our great nation. Really appreciate all the partnerships that came through on all of this. I mean, you guys all know electrification is amazingly important for the nation, and especially so for Hawaii. We are the most reliant state on foreign fuel of anybody else, and we want to make sure we break ourselves to that. And electrification is the way to go. We also want to make sure we're more energy secure, and electrification is absolutely the direction that we need to go through to ensure that we can start capitalizing on our own green energy productions that we have in Hawaii. So really appreciate the leveraging that the bill from the Biden administration has given us and the focus it has given us to make sure that we can push forward on the needs for Hawaii. Appreciate all of that. And the partnerships that we've had on this call and our energy providers here with our Federal Highways Administrator in Hawaii. We are the second highest adoption rate in the nation of electric vehicles, and we want to accelerate that. So this funding and this partnership is helping us ensure we move forward faster. Thanks to Tritium, we're going to be the first in the nation to start pushing out our charging stations, our NEVI-compliant charging stations. We'll get them this year in October, November timeframe. We've already set up the planning on the 13 sites we have here in Hawaii, and we're making sure that we're going to drop at least 2 of them in by the end of this year, and hopefully more. By end of 2024, we're looking at completing all of our NEVI requirements to ensure we can start pushing more funding into different areas where we see needs for electrification, to make sure that we can help our state convert to our clean energy needs. So we can hit the goals that Governor Green had given to us here, to hit the goals that our state legislature had provided, and to, again, honor the commitment that the Biden administration and our congressional delegation for Hawaii had pushed forth in bill. So really appreciate all the partnerships. And we could not have done it without the partnership with sustainability partners that allows us to purchase the service of all of the electrification needs for Hawaii in a convenient package to ensure it moves forward efficiently, practically, and feasibly. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Warren to help move this along. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I'm grateful for that. This is a wonderful partnership, and Ed Sniffen is very, very much forward thinking and has enabled us to help Hawaii and to bring these things together as a company. Sustainability Partners is honored to be here, and we're honored and appreciate the chance to help Hawaii to rapidly deploy these NEVI systems and other things, many other things that we're doing. We observed several things. The first few speakers have commented on this. We observed several things that have come together to make this happen so quickly, because I think the message is how quickly this has come together. The NEVI structure itself is thoughtfully considered using private partners to make this work, which of course we are. Hawaii DOT has been bold and very forward in their vision. And Ed saw this coming long before any of the NEVI program particulars were released. There's also a local presence and a great experience with Aloha Charge, who's also on this call. And that allows us to make local jobs a central part of this. And local awareness and local familiarity. But Tritium, hats off to Tritium. Tritium's readiness was the final and most, perhaps most important immediate solution here. They're ready, and that became a big part of this analysis. So these 4 things, together with, of course, Hawai'i Department of Transportation's contract with us, Sustainability Partners, they secured this contract a few years ago This now positions Hawaii, which some might call the last state. I would say it's the 50th state, but in fact now the first. So I think prophecy says the last will be first, and I think, Ed, you have now enabled that, so bravo. A couple of years ago, Hawaii DOT did procure a contract through a broad solicitation. They secured the contract with sustainability partners for exactly this type of electrification. So now HDOT, Hawaii DOT, was in position long before the NEVI program was announced to do the very kind of project that we have. In this contract, yes, sustainability partners, or SP as we call ourselves, we procure the equipment, we install the equipment, we maintain the equipment, we even upgrade it if and when that time is necessary for the entire life of the system. So the other part of this, though, that really I think makes a big difference for Hawai'i Department of Transportation is that Sustainability Partners is what's called a public benefits company. This means that SP has a chartered obligation to serve the public good. We only serve organizations like public sector customers in projects like this, infrastructure projects. We buy and install and maintain this infrastructure to make sure that the customers achieve their goals. We invest our own money, our own upfront capital, and we buy the infrastructure, then we turn around and provide it to Hawai'i Department of Transportation in exchange for a monthly usage fee. And like with NEVI, our structure is sufficiently flexible that we fit side by side with federal funds and other grants and stimulus monies. So for this NEVI project, SP is also going to provide all the ongoing support. We will, the NEVI installations in Hawaii, yes, they'll be first, but they will not be abandoned and be last. In fact, they're going to have continual care. SP will keep Hawaii's NEVI sites and all of the other essential infrastructure reliable, safe, and improving forever. So thank you for allowing us to participate in this historic project where the last will be first, sorry. I'm going to introduce now Aloha Charge, our local partner in Hawaii that is sourcing the equipment and helping us to deploy these systems. Jim Burness is the CEO. Jim?
Thank you, Warren. Aloha and good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Aloha Charge and National Car Charging are proud to be part of this first of the kind project in the United States. It's a true example of what collaboration and a commitment to making a difference can achieve. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the tireless efforts of our partners, HDOT, Sustainability Partners, NEVI-Connect, and Tritium, all of whom have been working at lightning speed to make this happen. And of course, none of this would be possible without the groundbreaking federal legislation that put NEVI into place in the first place. Thank you to Mayor Landrieu and Executive Director Klein, who are joining us today, and so many others for this groundbreaking program. NEVI is really about two things: building confidence in electrified transportation and making electric fueling easily accessible to everyone, no matter where you live. For much of the country, the priority for NEVI is to further enable long-distance travel. In Hawaii, it means many things, from bridging the long-distance gaps on the Big Island to providing reliable charging options in densely populated Honolulu, to bringing much-needed fast charging access to the neighbor islands. Hawaii is the ideal state to take the lead with the NEVI program because while the environmental stakes are high for all of us, Hawaii is seeing the effects of climate change front and center each and every day. The urgent need to get off fossil fuels cannot be understated, and these NEVI stations will allow the drivers of Hawaii to transition to electrified transportation even more quickly. Aloha Charge was created to accelerate the build out of Hawaii's EV charging infrastructure and to do it with a level of service the state had not seen before. And we feel it's important to take care of our ohana in this electrical vehicle revolution. Being part of National Car Charging allows the Aloha Charge team to uniquely serve Hawaii with dedicated in-state resources, allowing us to offer the focus and local attention the state deserves, while also benefiting from the buying power and over a decade of experience of National Car Charging. It's through this unique business structure that we're able to unite with our partners and go above and beyond for Hawaii, and the Tritium DC fast chargers paired with the NEVI-Connect networking software deliver the objectives set by HDOT and Sustainability Partners. Many factors go into choosing the right charging system for any given project. It's the feature set, the value, reliability, and ease of service, and then things like timing, availability, and post-sale support also are heavily considered. When all the factors were accounted for, Tritium and NEVI-Connect proved to be the right choice for Hawaii and for this project. All of us at Aloha Charge and National Car Charging are honored to be part of this transformative project and are excited to see the positive impact, the new jobs, the equitable charging access, the reduced CO2, and overall impact it'll have for Hawaii and ultimately the nation as a whole. So mahalo nui loa, and I'm now proud to hand it over to Jane Hunter of Tritium.
Thank you for those kind statements, Jim, and good afternoon, everybody. Jane Hunter, the CEO at Tritium. Look, we're so pleased to hear that anecdote from Mitch about our team member who made the shift from retail to working for Tritium. And Tritium's just really proud and honoured to be part of today's momentous announcement and to be part of this once-in-a-generation investment, as Mitch said. Our role here is to be supporting sustainability partners, Aloha Charge and EV Connect, to deliver fast chargers to Hawaii's EV drivers, spearheaded by the Hawai'i Department of Transport. As others have said, Hawaii is a very special place. You only need to look at Ed's background there. It's a place that's been a trailblazer in promoting sustainability. As the most isolated island community on the planet, Hawaii is on the very real front line of climatic changes and has custodianship of many precious endangered species. And as that trailblazer in promoting sustainability, you heard Ed say that they have the second highest EV adoption rate. They were also the first state to commit to 100% clean, renewable energy for electricity. So it's not surprising to see Hawaii as the first state to take up their NEVI funding allocation. At Tritium, we have a 20-year history of working towards a sustainable future for our planet. We're a purpose-driven company striving to enable clean energy through world-leading advanced technology. We make the world's only fully liquid-cooled fast charger, which gives our chargers the highest ingress protection rating available globally. And that's super important for island communities like Hawaii, where those scenic highways, you can see that in the picture there, they are on a salt-laden environment. It's highly corrosive. All that beauty comes at a cost. It's not something you want to push across power electronics. So we really see a great synergy between our chargers, which are designed in subtropical Queensland for the harsh Australian environment, built in America's industrial heartland in Tennessee, and now supporting the state of Hawaii as they announced the first fast charger order under President Biden's NEVI program, a program which helps fill the gaps across American states where private enterprise could take years to roll out charging infrastructure. So as we grow the world's largest fast charger factory in America and keep innovating on the world's toughest fast chargers in Australia, we're very much looking forward to supporting Hawaii's island communities with this cutting-edge infrastructure. So from our island community to yours, let's continue shaping a world powered by clean energy, where we drive noiseless, emissions-free cars. Thank you for joining us today on this significant occasion and for your trust in our products. Back to you, Jack.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks to all our speakers today. We'll now open the floor for the Q&A section. As a reminder, you can submit questions through the dedicated Q&A feature. So we have a first question here that comes from Bryce Moore. It's 4 separate questions, so I'll treat these individually. I think, Ed, these are most likely directed towards you. So when will the first of Hawaii's 32 Tritium fast chargers become available for public use?
So we're going through the environmental clearances for all sites on Oahu or in Hawaii right now. And 2 of them, the sites on Oahu and Maui, will be available before the end of this year. So by December, 2 sites at a minimum will be done. We're still working on 2 other sites, one on the Big Island and one on Kauai, that we're hoping to get done by the end of this year, but I'm guaranteeing those first 2 first.
Great, thank you. The next question here, I'll treat both of these together. Is there a map of where these chargers will be located? And 2, will all of these chargers be free for drivers to use?
So to the first question, we have our NEVI plan on our website that shows the general locations of all of the charging stations we have through the NEVI program. Now, that being said, we haven't identified the specific locations yet because we still got to go through environmental clearances. As we clear these sites, we'll be posting them on our website for the actual locations of each of them. We're putting up a map by the end of this week that'll show the Honolulu site and the Maui sites that are being cleared now. To the second question, the chargers there will be a charge to the chargers. We're still working through the rate structure right now, and we'll get that out to the public as soon as possible.
Thanks, Ed. And then the last question here, will all of these chargers be on Oahu?
No. So all the chargers that we're putting in are statewide. We have 32 coming in right now, but we're working on 2 sites on Oahu, 2 sites on Maui, 1 site on Molokai, 1 on Lanai, two on Kauai, and 6 on the Big Island. So we're covering the entire state. And that's just the start. We want to make sure we push these out because this gets us NEVI compliant. Then we'll push forward on other areas that we see needs, whether it be on the state system or county system.
Great, thank you. We also have one question coming through the voice chat here from David Ferris, I believe from E&E News and Politico. David, I'll open up the line here for you to talk.
Great. Thanks for taking the call. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, Ed, my question's for you. In your plan that you issued in 2022, you asked for waivers for locations on Molokai and Lanai because the power needs of the chargers were so high compared to the small population and the relatively small electrical base there. And the Joint Office didn't grant those waivers. And so my questions are deployments on those 2 islands part of this first deployment? And whether they are not, how are you going to meet the challenge of building chargers on those islands?
Really good question, David. So this first 8 or 32 charges that were coming in, they're not including the Molokai and Lanai areas. We're still working with the power providers in those areas to fulfill those requirements in those areas. And still working with Joint Office to see how best to provide it without blowing up the grids in those sections. And Joint Office has been amazing partners in helping us to determine what best or what charging infrastructure is best for those areas. So we're absolutely going to comply with it, but I don't think it's going to be a 4-port 150.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Please.
There was mention in the plan that the 20% match was going to be met by DOT funds by the state. And there was also a mention, sounds like there might be a change to this, that the electricity itself was going to be subsidized by the state. Could you give an update on how much state money is going toward that 20% match and if the electricity from the chargers is going to be subsidized by the state?
So at this time, we're still working out the rate structure. So I don't know what the subsidies are going to look like at this time. We're still working with our legislature on what that could potentially mean. But at this time, we're still looking at the rate structure that would be most feasible for the state while determining how best to incentivize more of the public to utilize it. And so more information forthcoming. Sorry, what was the other question, David?
I was wondering whether for the 20% match, often that's met by private sources. It sounds like at least in your plan, that was going to be met by the state, at least in the original plan. Is the state subsidizing that 20% match, and if so, how much?
Definitely, we are. So we're putting in the 20% match. I'll get you the number in 2 seconds, so I can pull it up right here. But we're taking care of that because I know that's in our purview. That was easiest for us to make sure that we could commit going forward as we start working partnerships to determine how best to fund these as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, David. All right, a few more questions have come through the chat here. This one for you, Jane. What is Tritium doing with NACS compliance?
Yeah, so look, the chargers for each of these Hawaii sites have 4 chargers. They've got 8 connectors. Of the 8 connectors, 4 are CCS, which is the combined charging standard, and 4 are CHAdeMO connectors. And that's the right selection for drivers in Hawaii, because in Hawaii, with this very high take-up level, 52% of cars use CCS and 30% use CHAdeMO connectors, which are those miss and lease. NACS is currently in Hawaii at about 17%. So yes, Tritium can provide NACS connectors. We'll have those ready by late this year or early 24. But what we would say is that they can be retrofitted if that becomes the right choice for Hawaii at a later date. But certainly at this stage where you've got such a high level of CCS and CHAdeMO connectors, that's the right choice in this particular state. There are other states where there's actually a majority of NACS connectors, and that would be the right call for them. But we're connector agnostic, and we'll apply whatever it makes sense for drivers in that state. And at this point, 50% CCS, 30% CHAdeMO, it just doesn't make sense to do NACS connectors right now.
Thanks, Shane. I'll pass the next question to Warren. Is this team of Aloha Charge sustainability partners in Tritium in a position to quickly help other states with their NEVI rollout?
Just a thank you for that question. That's perhaps the easiest question we'll see all day long. You're asking if we would be willing to expand our business, and the answer, of course, is yes. This is a perfect situation for sustainability partners and its partners. Aloha Charge is actually connected to National Car Charging, which is nationwide. They're two parts of the same whole. And of course, Tritium is fully capable. I can't speak for Tritium's capacity, but I can tell you that in terms of these plans and the capital necessary through us to make this happen, we're eager for that. In fact, the excitement that we have in working with Ed Sniffen and the Hawaii DOT is that it's actually plowing ahead and showing ways to accomplish this that people didn't realize were available before. So we're honored to be a part of that. And yes, the answer is yes.
And I can probably add to Jack in terms of the absolute capacity, no problem meeting that. So this year we have the capacity for 11,000 units, and then that goes up to 28,000 units next year and 30,000 the following.
And National Car Charging is indeed a national company with team members from coast to coast, so we are ready as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
All right.
before you jump into the next one, could I answer David's question? So the state share is going to be 5 million that we're putting into the NEVI program. So that's going to be our share. And to answer the questions that you're asking about, we're looking at pushing forward harder on charging stations throughout our state as well. So please keep some of that capacity for us. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. All right. I think this one is for Jane here. How fast is a fast charge? In other words, how long will it take to get a full charge on these Tritium chargers compared to a regular EV charger?
Yeah, look, it's entirely battery dependent. So one of the things that people don't necessarily understand is that the uptake rate from a charger is limited by the power of your battery. And some cars have batteries which can uptake really quickly, and other cars are limited how quickly they can uptake the rate from the charger. These are 150 kilowatt chargers. And that means that in kilometers, which is the Australian length, you get about 150 kilometers of range in about 10 minutes. In miles, you get about 20 miles of range in a couple of minutes. So you could pretty much fill your battery if you run, for example, a Model 3 Tesla in about 6 or 7 minutes.
Thanks, Jane. How can, I'll kick the next question here to, I guess this is probably to you, Warren, or maybe Ed. I'll let you guys tackle whoever wants to take this one. How can electrical contractors get involved in the installation program of these systems on Maui?
Maybe that'd be a Warren question.
Yeah, that would be a Warren question. We are actively engaging conversations on Maui and every other island. In fact, one of the things that's important in Hawaii is not just local to the state, but local to the island. So it's very important for us to try to use installers and service providers to us for the state of Hawaii that are local to the island. So yes, we're eager.
Great. I think we have time for one more question here. Any plans on tying in solar with the NEVI rollout to offset grid utilization?
I think I'll start this off and I'll kick it over to Warren after this. In areas where the grid just can't support some of the larger power draw needs, we're looking at potentially offsetting with or supplementing with grid power, with battery backup and trickle charge and the like. But we depend on the partnership we have with sustainability partners to give us the best solutions in these different areas as we partner up with our power providers. Warren?
Yes, yeah, the answer is yes, but it depends. So there are situations, in fact, some of the early deployments in Hawaii are going to not necessarily depend upon photovoltaic or solar energy production, although that's always a possibility, especially if demand goes up beyond what we've forecasted. We can easily layer that in and create canopy structures to generate enough energy to fill up the customer's vehicles. But storing that energy, especially in a place like Hawaii where there's an abundance of solar energy production throughout the day, It's usually important for us to have a battery energy storage system next to these chargers so that when the demand is there, they're ready. And so you will see these in the Hawaii NEVI systems. Yes.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Warren. All right, we'll allow one more question. There's two separate questions here around reliability of equipment. I think that's probably to you, Jane.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the chargers can achieve about 97, 98% reliability, and we trend between 96 to 98% during what's called a free warranty. And that's simply what you get with your home fridge or your home washing machine, which is somebody will turn up with a part within a reasonable period of time. Now, when you apply an SLA over the top of that, which is a full suite service level agreement, they can achieve 99% reliability. So it's a mixture of how you're servicing them. And that'll be something that we work on with Aloha Charge, which is what is the service model that they want to have. And the higher service model that you have is based on whether you have a full suite service model that has timeframes and SLAs. So for example, turning up in 24 hours or turning up in 14 hours, whatever that selection is by the state that they want to meet. And between that, though, you can achieve 96 to 98% just under the warranty that comes with the charges for the first 2 years. And I believe there was a sort of follow-on question to that, Jack, which was around how do you achieve that and can you achieve it in harsh environments? And absolutely, that was why Hawaii selected these charges, because they have this Ingress Protection 65 rating, which means that you've got the fully sealed box against salt environments, particulates, sucking things into them, and in fact, things that creep in and want to nest in something as warm and dry as that. And that can happen in subtropical environments. You get geckos, ants, termites, all sorts of things might want to nest in there. So these are fully sealed against that ability for them to get in and short out the power electronics. So really, it's very achievable. And it's really just a question of how rapid the turnaround selection is.
Thanks, Jane. And there's one last one in here that I'll just answer. Which of these organizations is hiring now? I think we all are. It's a big task ahead, and we all need all the help that we can get. So yeah, please check each of our websites and find ways to contribute and be a part of this. So yeah, that's all the time that we have for questions today. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank all of our speakers and their teams for contributing not only to today's event, but to their remarkable efforts to increase access to fast charging infrastructure in the US. And a special thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today. We appreciate your participation, and we'll do our best to follow up with any unanswered questions after the webinar. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jack.
Aloha.